Born and raised in Peterborough, England, Bernadette was a typical teenager, bright, sociable, and passionate about her dreams. Her parents, Sarah and Scott Walker, seemed like the perfect couple. Scott, a charming and well-spoken man, was involved in the community and held a respectable job in sales. He was the kind of father any child would look up to. At first glance, their home was a picture of tranquility. But lurking behind closed doors was a darker reality. Scott's charm was a mask for his darker nature. As Bernadette grew older, the facade began to crumble. Unbeknownst to anyone around her, Bernadette was living a nightmare at home. A nightmare orchestrated by the man who should have been her protector. Scott Walker's manipulation of his daughter had started slowly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it was the usual protective, fatherly behavior. Controlling what she wore, who she interacted with, and how she spent her time. But what Bernadette didn't realize was that her father's behavior was turning toxic. He was slowly isolating her from everyone who cared about her. At 16, Bernadette's world had become smaller. Her friends were pushed away, and her independence was stifled. Scott's emotional abuse began to escalate, with him blaming her for everything wrong in his life, making her feel guilty for things she had no control over. But no one knew, not her mother, Sarah, who worked long hours as a nurse, nor Bernadette's friends, who saw only the public side of Scott, the charming, loving father. It was in the summer of 2020 that Bernadette finally began to see the truth. She had been planning to leave for months, saving up small amounts of money and looking for a place to stay. She had confided in her best friend, Emily, about the suffocating environment at home. Emily urged Bernadette to talk to her mother, to seek help. But Bernadette was afraid. She feared Scott's wrath more than anything. On July 18, 2020, Bernadette decided to take the first step toward freedom. She packed a small bag and planned to stay with Emily for a few days. But Scott, sensing her departure, confronted her. As Bernadette tried to leave, he became frantic. He begged her to stay, to not leave him alone. But Bernadette, finally finding the courage to speak out, told him she couldn't live like this anymore. She needed to escape. Scott's response was swift and horrifying. In a fit of rage, he grabbed her by the arm and dragged her back into the house. In those moments, the man she had once trusted to protect her became her executioner. Scott ended Bernadette's life that night, not out of malice, but out of a twisted sense of control. He couldn't bear the thought of losing his grip on her. The next day, Scott reported Bernadette missing. He claimed that she had run away, that she had left the house without warning. His calm demeanor in the face of such a tragedy would later raise suspicions among the police. He acted too calm, too composed, as if he had rehearsed his story. But the police began to notice inconsistencies in Scott's account. For one, Bernadette's belongings, including her phone and her school bag, were found in her room. There was no sign that she had run away. And then, when Scott was questioned further, his behavior became increasingly erratic. His explanations didn't add up. The investigation took a darker turn. It wasn't until the police conducted a thorough search of the Walker household that the truth started to emerge. The inconsistencies in Scott's story led investigators to believe he was hiding something. They found traces of blood in Bernadette's room, and after further investigation, her body was discovered not far from the house in a secluded area. It was clear that Scott had lied. The breakthrough came when Scott's own words betrayed him. In a chilling confession, he admitted to murdering his daughter. But his explanation was as twisted as the crime itself. He claimed that he had killed Bernadette in a moment of passion. Unable to accept the fact that she was trying to leave him, Scott's confession revealed the true horror of his actions. He had emotionally manipulated Bernadette for years, convincing her that she could not live without him, that he was the only one who truly cared about her. When she tried to escape, Scott couldn't stand the thought of losing control over her. His own sense of self-worth was tied to Bernadette's dependence on him, and when she rejected him, he saw no other option but to silence her forever. What made this crime even more chilling was the psychological depth of Scott's manipulation. His controlling behavior, his isolation of Bernadette, and his use of guilt and fear were all part of a twisted plan to maintain dominance over his daughter. He didn't just want to be her father, he wanted to own her, body and soul. Scott's actions weren't those of a father protecting his child. They were the actions of a man consumed by his own ego, his need for control, and his fear of abandonment. When Bernadette fought back, when she finally stood up to him, he felt as though his entire world was crumbling. In his twisted mind, the only way to maintain control was through murder. Scott Walker was arrested and charged with the murder of his daughter. The trial was a shocking and painful process for Bernadette's family and friends, as they learned the full extent of the emotional and psychological abuse Bernadette had suffered. The courtroom was filled with raw emotion as the prosecution laid out the details of Scott's manipulation and eventual murder of his own flesh and blood. In the end, Scott was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. But for Bernadette, justice would never truly be served. Her life, full of potential and promise, was cut short by the one person she should have been able to trust the most. Bernadette Walker's story is one of the most heartbreaking cases of familial betrayal. Her father, the man who should have loved and protected her, took her life instead. This case serves as a painful reminder of the danger that can lie behind closed doors, of the subtle yet insidious nature of emotional manipulation, and of how easy it can be to ignore the signs of abuse when they're hidden beneath a facade of normalcy. Bernadette's death should not be in vain. Her story must be a lesson to all of us. To listen when someone reaches out for help, to recognize the signs of emotional abuse, and to never ignore the warning signs of control and manipulation. No one, especially a child, should ever have to endure what Bernadette went through. If you found Bernadette's story gripping, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our subsequent posts. Stay tuned for more chilling true crime cases only on Crime Uncovered.